How was Heklina born? Well, I entered a drag competition in San Francisco right after I moved here. And I needed a drag name. I just moved here from Reykjavik, Iceland. And it's one of those things where you think of your name in 5 seconds. There's a volcano in Iceland called Hekla. And I was entering this pageant, and I was going to sing a song in Icelandic, and I thought Hekla, Heklina, and whatever. It just kind of, I performed, and it was a big disaster. I got really drunk, and I don't remember any of it, but the name stuck. And when I picked up the wig again a couple years later, because, it was like a one-time thing that a lot of gay guys do, like for Halloween or whatever, and I didn't pick up the drag mantle again for a few years, and I kept the name, What was Trannyshack in a nutshell? It's kind of impossible to do. I will say that people tried to identify what it was for so many years. In essence, it was a drag show. And I was very influenced by a lot of the people that I saw in San Francisco with like a punk rock sensibility. So it was a drag show that had no rules because I didn't come from a performance background of any rules. And I think it was very much needed at the time. And it was informed by the people who influenced us. I don't want to bash traditional drag, but what really influenced us was punk rock, people like David Bowie or Susie Sue, or just stuff like that. And also a lot of art damaged people performed there, and crazy themes like film people. David Lynch was a theme one night, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like no rules and always trying to outdo what happened the week before. But in essence, it was a drag show, and essentially we were hoping to entertain people. The legacy is very flattering, and when I hear people, and I still see it in San Francisco, every drag show I see has the template of Trannyshack. But Trannyshack was a certain time. Nightlife is not what it used to be when Trannyshack started. People would never go out on a Tuesday night at midnight. So it had to happen at that time. Before Grindr and all that stuff. When people wanted a mystery to see, there was mystery of nightlife. Now people, I feel like, want to know exactly what they're going to get if they go out. But at Trannyshack, you never knew what you were going to get until you went out. You know what I mean? I guess for me, I'd reached kind of a glass ceiling after I ended Trannyshack, the weekly club. It was either I was going to retire or I was going to keep doing large shows at DNA Lounge and traveling with it. The traveling with drag is kind of got really tiresome. And the big shows I was doing shows at DNA Lounge for like thousands of people. So the name Trannyshack didn't really seem to apply anymore to that. And then some people suggested I would be really good at opening my own club. I hadn't really thought about it. It was at the urging of other people. So yeah, I invested a lot of my own money in it. And it's become really successful. It was really needed in San Francisco because San Francisco, like a lot of other places, is becoming there's a lot of blandness coming into San Francisco. There's a lot of money and a lot of bland people, and there's a real need to keep San Francisco weird. So it was kind of like out of the box hit, which is very satisfying to know that. So we've had a lot of famous people come to Oasis. We had Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen and is that it? Parker Posey, other people like that. But the biggest one was Cher. So Cher came to Oasis she was campaigning for Hillary. Not that it did a lot of good, but still. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that too much. But Cher came, and it was a really surreal experience. We totally cleared out the backstage area, the dressing room, and only Cher was allowed in there. And she had a rider of, she wanted granola bars, Dr. Pepper, and Pellegrino, and that was it. So for like a superstar like her, that was all she asked for. And she didn't come with a big security detail. It was just her and her assistant. And she had a big sippy cup full of Dr. Pepper the whole time, and she was doing photo ops with these big donors for the Hillary campaign. But it was so surreal because I've worked with so many Cher impersonators over the years. So when this person was talking to me in this Cher voice and this Cher face, I was like, it's really Cher. It's not some impersonator, you know what I mean? And she was just talking to me, and she was like standing like this in the doorway talking to me, and I'm like, all right, this is happening right now, and it's totally normal, and trying not to freak out, but it was amazing. What is different about San Francisco, Queens? It's hard for me to identify it. I think that there's more of a gender fuck around it. I'm not sure if I can say the F word on this. Oh, good. It's a gender fuck. I think that they were maybe the first drag queens. I don't want to say definite statements, but they imprinted on a consciousness of like the bearded drag queens and the hippie drag queens with the Coquettes, with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So a lot of things were born here in San Francisco. And then there was the punk rock sensibility that influenced me when I first moved to San Francisco. I was very influenced by a club called Clubstitute, which nobody remembers, and by a lot of the DIY drag performances and drag theater that I saw when I moved here. And not to be too morose, but in 1995, everybody who influenced me passed away. So when Trannyshack started, it was kind of like a rebirth or a renaissance in a way. It was time to celebrate because people weren't dying anymore all of a sudden, you know. And no, I mean, in a nutshell, San Francisco is different because they embrace art that has no rules to it. And so drag can be part of that, definitely. Why is queer visibility more important than ever? Well, I've always been of the mind that queer is very different from gay. I feel like gay has become so mainstream that I miss the days when being queer, like we were the pariahs and we were the freaks, and now we've become so normal and accepted that it's become less interesting. But it's really more necessary than ever to not only be queer, but to be a freak and to not fit into this norm. So there's a terrifying norm now in America where I live in a little bubble and I don't relate to, you know, to my family. My life is freakish, but I look at their lives and I think that's really freakish. Do you know what I mean? So it's important for me to be open about everything I do. It feels important at certain times. It felt really important after Orlando because people wanted to hide and not go out and stuff. And that's the time where you have to go out and you have to be as gay as possible and you can't let anything change your life. And so it's feels like a small victory in a way to continue to live your life and not let it be squashed. I think people are really demoralized right now because of Trump. It's kind of a disaster and it's really surreal. And I think people are going through the stages that you go through when you go through grief. This is like a prolonged 9/11 where people were in denial and then they got angry and now they have to accept it and fight it. You know what I mean? So the anger is not going to go away. But so it's especially important to be queer and to just fight it. You know, we have to do anything we can do to foil this Trump presidency.